video. Today we're taking a look at a new concealer from Westman Atelier. This is Gucci Westman's company. She is a professional makeup artist who is truly a professional makeup artist, has worked in editorial work for a very long time. She also back in the day used to do, I think, television work when she was first kind of figuring out what she wanted to do. And this is what it looks like. I meant to bring in their lip oil, but it's in the living room because it's so delicious. This is the very same container, except that one is black. So you see the color right here, same thing with the lip oils. But this is in an off pink, and that one is in black. I will say, I think the three companies whose packaging I really love, Westman Atelier, Victoria Beckham, and Gucci. So they do beautiful packaging. And you know what? If looking at beautiful packaging uplifts you and brings up your mood, why not? Score for that. I'm 62 years old, and as you get older, concealer is more difficult. It's also more necessary. When you're younger, you can put on any kind of formula and you're going to be fine. I remember Revlon Age Rewind. Tati spoke about it all the time, and I thought, well, okay, I'll try, because she wouldn't stop talking about it. It was too heavy. It dried my skin like nobody's business. Under eyes, when you're older, when your skin is dry, when you have lines, when you have wrinkles, you have a lot. And most concealers are good enough. They are saying things that make you think, well, this might be super concealer. Let's talk about it. The Westman Atelier Vital Skincare Brightening Concealer with Hyaluronic Acid. It's 10 mil, 16 shades, and I have shade L4, which has a peachy undertone. What it is, a precise, buildable coverage concealer clinically shown to reduce the look of dark circles, featuring serum strength skincare to hydrate, visibly brighten, and soothe. Highlighted ingredients are Geishan root, I don't know what that is, coffee leaf extract, so caffeine is known to contract your blood vessels. I have tried caffeine-based serums, and I find for me personally, it doesn't do anything. Everybody's different though. For some people, caffeine is a godsend. For me, nothing. For me, this is a godsend. This is what helps my puffiness. Licorice root. Licorice root is something that lightens discoloration and lightens skin, even if you don't have discoloration. So there's two kinds of darkness under the eyes. There's darkness under the eyes that is actually due to the thinning of the upper layer of the skin, and what we're seeing is the inner workings under the eyes. And the darkness is broken blood vessels. Those blood vessels get weaker as we get older, and they break, and we see that blood seeping underneath the skin. I know it sounds disgusting, but this is what it is, and that's what the darkness is about. Darkness can also be about pigment, and that is when the upper layer of the skin itself, it's not about it getting thin and seen underneath it, it's about true pigmentation, hyperpigmentation, birthmarks, or whatever it might be. Licorice root addresses that. It does not address what I have, which is the thinning of the skin, and vitamin K is the thing that really works well for me, used consistently. And they go on to say visibly brightens dark circles and hyperpigmentation, and lift and firm the look of the eye contour. She just got in the crate. She hasn't been in the crate in months. There's mini hyaluronic acid in here. It is a low molecular weight for optimal absorption. Now, I can't speak with authority on this, but I know that some of the weights of hyaluronic acid are actually drying. I think it's the large ones can dry, so the minis are good. Let's just say that, because we know she did her research, right? Peptides, which support natural collagen and soften the look of crepiness, fine lines, and crow's feet. So peptides actually, they didn't do anything in real skin involving biopsies. I don't remember in vivo or in vitro. I think it's all in vitro, not in vivo, where the studies have been done about peptides and collagen. However, let's say peptides don't do anything for collagen. It actually is incredibly hydrating. So check for that as well. It is vegan, gluten-free, and cruelty-free. What else you need to know? In Vital Skincare Brightening Concealer, professional performance pigments and potent skincare combined for breathable coverage that feels as good as it looks. This concealer builds and sets in seconds to blur the look of texture for a creaseless finish. Hyaluronic acid and peptides hydrate and firm, while Vital Makeup Complex visibly evens tone and diminishes dark circles over time. So there you have it, you guys. I am wearing it today. I've worn it for 3 days, but the first day I didn't shoot. Let's get into day 1, where it was even more hot than today. You guys, today is the 4th day of more than 100 degrees Fahrenheit here in Los Angeles, and as you may know, I don't have air conditioning, so it is early, but it is still, it's hot, and I wanted to shoot maybe a 2-day wear test because I got this yesterday and I tried it on. I didn't have any skincare, any foundation. There was kind of no point because I'm sitting in the living room sweating and wiping my face off, so what's the point in doing anything? But today I did my skincare, I did my sunscreen, I did my dermatology probably 8 minutes ago, so that has sunken in. It'll be interesting for me to see how different it might play without my skincare on to with my skincare on, and I'm going to apply it the same way I did it yesterday. I was very, very surprised that it didn't crease. It didn't trough very much, a little bit, but I trough a lot. If you don't know what trough a lot, it's like chocolate. It's the puffiness of your under eyes and then the cheekiness of your cheek. And in between there, right here, is trough, where everything kind of settles in. Troughed a little bit, but everything does. But it pretty much remained, and it looked good all day. I also didn't powder it. And I have a feeling it was about my application. So my fan is upstairs in the bedroom, so I really have to get going with this. And I'm going to show you how I put it on yesterday, and then we'll come back tomorrow. I might come back today, now it's starting to sweat, and show you what it looks like in a couple of hours. But I pulled all the skin taut because this is kind of thick. And a little bit goes a long way. And again, this is kind of an experiment because I wasn't all that sweaty when I did this yesterday, and I really press it into the skin because because it's so thick, it will skip over pores, so you really have to move it in. And then I kind of stayed like this to let it set. Again, I have skincare on today and I didn't yesterday, but I felt if I let it set, there's a really good chance it's not going to trough at all. So do this for a few minutes. And I'm just going to wipe away a little bit of sweat right here. And again, pull everything taut. I want you to see what I'm doing, but I need to see what I'm doing too. See how I have a little mole right here, a colorless mole, and the pores right here, you really have to work this in. And we'll try another method with a brush. And right here I'm sweating a little bit, so that doesn't really count. Because makeup is generally not compatible with sweat. I'm pulling it out again. Okay. This is not as good as this because there is a little sweat right here, but I don't really think you're going to see the difference. Now normally I would put on my foundation before I go on with concealer, but yesterday I just had concealer on. And I thought, wow, this is really super full coverage. But I found that the color, which is a little yellow for me, it kind of mellowed out in about 10 or 15 minutes. So I'm just going to take a sample that I have here of, I think this is the Fenty, and just put a little bit of foundation on so I don't look as clownish. And you can also get a better idea of how these work together. Sometimes I think that really it makes sense, doesn't it? To first do your concealer and then do your foundation. Otherwise, for me, I always end up with a little foundation underneath my eyes. Oh, they look really nice together. And you can see how they're working together. They're working beautifully together. Really, really nice. Now, yesterday I did not powder, and I feel like I'm not going to powder again today. It's just too hot to powder. It's going to end up. What do you do when you put like powder and water together? Don't you get this kind of clay-ish thing? I don't want clay on my face. So today I'm not going to powder, but I found that I really didn't need to powder yesterday. There was a slight radiance. It's not 100% matte, but it stayed in place. It really adhered to the skin, which I think is part of the problem with many concealers is they don't quite adhere, so they move around and rub off. Now, if you're rubbing your eyes and doing this, contact lenses, putting in, why would you do that after you put on your makeup? But you never know. Then sure, it'll probably move, but I gotta tell you, when I washed my face last night, it was still there. I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta actually put soap under my eyes to get this off. It didn't come off with rinsing because I wasn't wearing skincare. I just did a nice, really thorough rinse and it was still there. So I feel like it will stay under less than favorable conditions as long as you allow it the time to set. All right, so this is kind of day one, and I'll be back a little bit later and show you what's going on. Let me pull in one more time and let me take a look at the same time. No cropping, none. A little cropping right here. That is unheard of for me. Just about everything troughs on me. Even the best of the best, like that Tom Ford, it troughs a little bit. My Givenchy Prism Libre troughs a little bit. Sometimes a little bit more than a little bit. This, no trough. That's pretty amazing. And I really didn't leave it to set as long as I could have or should have, where I'm just kind of doing this for 3-4 minutes, and then I do the other side like this for 3-4 minutes, but I did make some effort, as you saw. All right, we'll be back in, I don't know, a couple hours and see how it's holding up and how I'm holding up in this miserable weather. So it's 2 hours later, and let's just take a look. Little troughing right here. But this side, hardly any at all. And you can see that the coverage kind of toned down a little bit, but it still looks good at a distance of, arm's length plus 6 inches. And the color kind of works with what I'm going on here. Very sheer application of the Fenty. And I'm just going to get out the big mirror. So this under eye is worse than this under eye. It doesn't just have lines that go this way, it has lines that go up and down. And remember, I was sweating just a little bit. My body seems to adjust as the day goes on. It's very strange, but it was 10 in the morning and the heat was rising and my body was responding. When I put this on yesterday, it was probably 2:30. Already the heat of the day was at its highest, although it was accumulating. My body had adjusted and I wasn't sweating at that time. So I can't say this is a fair assessment, but it is not looking as good here in those vertical lines. But again, from a distance of a couple of feet, with my eyesight, it doesn't look so bad. I'm just going to take this brush and go right here and kind of buff it out so the accumulation isn't there. When I do this, I feel like I could definitely pat this down a little bit. And that's what I'm going to do to fix this side. Something I don't think the naked eye would see. And it wasn't effective on this side, but again, not 100% a fair assessment because I was sweating right around the nose area here. But overall, I'm looking at this mirror thinking this is actually a very nice, clean look. If I wasn't sweaty, I would go ahead and put on some blush, but I am definitely staying inside, at least in the near term. Looking in this, I think it's a 5X, could be a 3X. It also looks pretty darn good. So tomorrow I'm going to use brushes. I don't think a beauty blender would work with this because you really have to work it into the skin. This, the Angie, is stiff compared to this one, which is the rougher brush, which, as you can see, it's a little bit softer. So much so that you can swipe, where with this one I pat because it pulls too much under the eyes. So we're going to give both of these a try for tomorrow and see what happens. And this is day one. The reason I wanted to do 2 days was I wanted to try this a couple of different ways. And it has a thick texture to it, which I think can be tricky for some people. So here are some tips if you have it. I think the finger application is very, very nice. The coverage, solid. They're saying it's medium, but I'd say, you know, it's a strong medium. Today's application was a little bit different, not as much coverage, and I don't like it as much. So today's day 2, let's get into it. Today's the third day I'm going to be trying this, but the first day I did it off camera, as I already told you, and I used my fingers. Yesterday's wear was really beautiful. It did trough right here, as you know, and I just smoothed that away, and otherwise it looked really nice. Today I have the fan on. It's so low, I doubt you can hear it, and I also doubt that it's going to be effective. But it's super, super hot here. Today was supposed to be like 10, 12 degrees cooler, and I thought, okay, I can shoot, but you know what? That's still in the 90s. So I am going to do it different today. Today I'm going to do brushes, and for me, there's 2 things you can do. You can put it on with the doe foot, boop, and then use the brush to blend it, or I can put it on the hand and pick it up with the brush. So that's what I'm going to try. This is a rougher brush. It's listed down below. It may be out of stock, but I love it. And it fits in this area really nicely and transferring well, I will say, obviously, but you know, maybe not. A little less coverage with this application, but it's super fast. When I do it with the finger, I feel like I really have to massage it into the skin, or it will sit on top of the pores and it has to be worked into the pores. With the brush, not so much. Now this sets super, super quickly, so I may have to pick up some more. Yeah, let's just pick up a little bit more. So this application means you're going to go through product pretty quickly. If you find the thing that works for you, especially if you're more mature, you have lines and wrinkles and everything creases or disappears, it'll be worth it. This brush is the Angie Hot and Flashy, which is much stiffer, and I use it more pouncing than dragging, than sweeping, because I find that with sweeping it pulls on that delicate under eye skin. So let's take a look. Looks like the coverage is about the same. My eyes are super puffy from this heat. Not a heat person, you guys. I'm not a heat person. I did use this morning, and I used this before I put this on. I should have put this on afterwards, but I do think the prep is super, super important for your concealer. You can't just put it on dry skin. You have to be moisturized. The moisturizer has to sink in. And of course the dermatology. This is also great. The texture of this actually reminds me very much of an eyeshadow primer, kind of like the, who did that? I see it in my head, Urban Decay, where there's a thickness to it, and I'm sure it would be a fantastic primer for your eyes, but if you're hooded like me, it probably will crease. We should give that a test. Let's just do that, because they say that this sets very quickly. What if I just put some on my lids, get rid of that redness. This is a very small amount, because the more you put on, the better chance you're going to have a creasing. I want to see. Now, both times I used this, I did not powder it. I didn't feel I needed to powder it, and boy, it was long lasting. This adheres to the skin, which is why it reminds me so much of an eyeshadow base. This could actually be dual. You could maybe use it for both. So I'm just going to turn on the fan a little higher and dry my lids. And now I'm just going to look under the eyes in the 10X and see what's going on. You know what? I think I prefer this with the finger application. I do see right here, it skipped over the pores. And it does need to be massaged in. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to bring you up close, and you can see how with the finger the coverage was not only complete, aside from the color and the fact that, well, I don't have any darkness, it really kind of helped my lines and wrinkles look less so, and it gave me really, really good coverage, where this, from an arm's distance looking in the mirror here, is fine, but close up, not. Close up 10X, so you have to keep that in mind. And again, I'm just going to go on with the foundation. Again, I'm using the Fenty because I have a sample of it here, and I think the color is a little bit better for this. And wow, it looks like it's going to crease, you know, when I'm opening like this, but this is not creased on my very hooded eyes, and usually that happens immediately, so that is impressive. That is impressive. So this is going to be really good for me for a primer for the eyes, and sometimes I might not even want to put on eyeshadow. I just don't want all that redness. It doesn't seem to be, and remember, I didn't powder it. And let's go ahead and powder this time, even though it's not my favorite application. I do want to see how it takes to powder. Teeny bit of troughing. I'm just going to take the tip so this becomes pretty matte when it's powdered. So if you are somebody who does not like luminous under your eyes because you have puffiness and it makes your puffiness look bigger, you can just powder this and it's not luminous anymore. Getting the mirror again. Yeah, I do not like this application. Again, from a distance it looks fine, but it is craggly. It's craggly city, like the bottom of the desert floor. And I'm going to pull you in so you can see what's going on. It's not great. Now again, not too many people have 10X vision, but since I'm so blind, I use this mirror all the time, which I think is a 3X, maybe a 5X, which is probably what most people see. And in this mirror, it doesn't look that great either. So finger application for sure, for me. Alright, so now you know why I don't really like the brush application. I think because it's thick, it really needs to be worked into those craggly lines and wrinkles that I have. Now, these kinds of lines and wrinkles, different story altogether. I can't speak to them, but I'm not going to be pulling out my concealer up here for the most part. It's mostly about the darkness. Once in a while I do use concealer to kind of lift the eye after I've done an eyeshadow that's gone out too far, but it's more like the remnants of what is already on my concealer brush. It does look fine. I am beginning to sweat, so we'll get rid of that. But I don't love this application. I think it really needs to be worked in. Also with this application, you're going to use more product because it does set so quickly. I put some on the hand, I pick some up, and boom, boom, boom. In fact, it kind of reminds me a little bit of the Makeup Forever HD, which I know a lot of people didn't like, but I like it fine because the coverage is great. Let's just do little swatches and see how they feel next to each other so you can get a sense of what this texture is. So they look really similar. This one's the HD, this one is the Westman Atelier, and they feel very, very similar. I would say that the HD is a teeny bit more liquidy, and there's much more cush in the Westman Atelier. So if you have tried that, now you have an idea of what it is, and you also have an idea of what I think the best application is for under the eyes. If you have craggliness, if your under eyes, this one especially, looks like a desert that hasn't had rain in years. That's the fun eye. And otherwise, I would also say that the coverage that you get from this lasts all day long. It doesn't go away. And when I wash my face, like last night, I had sunscreen and this, that, and the other thing. I ended up using 3 products to wash my face because one left a horrible residue, and then I had to do something stripping, and it was still had that residue. And it took a while for this to leave. So I think if you live in a place where it is humid, and or if you're going through hot flashes, if you sweat, if you exercise, whether it's humid or not, you're going to find this stays in place. The last week, it has been 100, 110 degrees here, and I don't have air conditioning. I've just been sitting in this living room just sweating. It's been such an enjoyable time for me, but my concealer stayed. And that is really, really interesting. And that's going to wrap up today's short but sweet and I hope helpful review. Please, I should have said this at the beginning, give this video a thumbs up. Send it to people who you think might like my perspective, my point of view, my thorough, I hope, reviews. And yeah, that's it. Hope it was helpful. I hope you come back again. Until we meet again, be safe and smart, and I'm wishing you good health.